I think now sir has just joined in. So we will start. Sir, are you able to hear us, sir? So I have made you the co-host. Maybe our expert is also facing issue in logging in. He just logged out. Let me check one more time if he's here. We thought that Zoom will be the simplest one, but I think still many people are facing the issues. Let me try something so the sir can join in immediately. Yeah, we are really sorry because our expert could not join so far. He's having an issue at the internet level. Just wait for a few more minutes. Yeah, I think sir has joined again. Sir, I have made you the co-host, sir. You can switch on the video and you can share the screen as well, sir.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry.
Yes.
I think for some reason it was not allowing me to log in for half an hour. I truly apologize for the undue delay.
सर जब हमारे जूम लिंक से क्लिक करते हैं तो कैपिटल सी
नहीं पासवर्ड बदलना नहीं चाहिए ना, it should be the same whatever it is. Anyway, ठीक है.
Okay, sir.
So it looks foolish.
So,
Yeah.
sir, actually, I have already shared your bio with all the.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Can you please
No
go
problem.
ahead and share your screen, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, good afternoon, everyone. I'm extremely sorry for the undue delay from my side in joining the program. And I think let us get started then. And 1 second. So I just hopefully I'm able to share my.
Yes, sir. We
It's
can
visible?
see your screen, sir. We can see your
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you all truly enjoyed Professor Shivadanu Pillai's talk, and honestly, I have to say that after his talk, there is nothing much seriously for us to add. So I even have tried to remove something and modify, and so, but then hopefully I'm able to convey what I want to convey. The key point I want to convey here is that, as Professor Shivadanu Pillai already said, and so I've even removed something or changed my slides a bit, but we are in an exciting time. Everything is enabled by knowledge economy, and the knowledge economy from time immemorial has been enabled by professors. I mean, you look at, see, even when Alexander came, maybe, his gurus excited him to go around the world. Or even if you look at the Indian context, a guru who thought he was being insulted, like Dronacharya, literally, said, I will create students with excellence that, they were one day I will be able to, make my friend, Drupada, to be put to shame with my student. Or even, you look at whether it is a case of Chanakya. So Chanakya converted literally a cowherd into an emperor. Or even modern day cricket analogies, like I'm sure we all know about Dhoni. So a guru with a thought and focus could create excellence. A footballer became a cricketer and one of India's best captain, Dhoni. Or for example, the capability of the guru is unlimiting. Let's say a player like Anil Kumble. He was supposed to be a medium pacer. His brother somehow found that, say, with his height, if he could bowl spin, it will be more effective. And so he made a leader out of him from nowhere. And suddenly what happened? We had one of India's best spinners, highest wicket taker, and somebody who had taken 10 wickets in a match. So you just see, a guru can create wonders. And now, in the middle of the knowledge economy, when everything is changing, therefore, it's a unique opportunity for a guru or a teacher to create this transformation. So, therefore, it is very critical that we have this conference or we talk about things like leadership, and the leadership can never be half-hearted or also run chalta hai attitude chale jana chahiye. We have to move towards excellence, and therefore the two words are very critical. And that's why we are talking for a whole in it. And see, as I said, maybe in all its sense, from knowledge economy to a teacher to, how to do excellence from concept to product, mind to market, as Mr. Dr. Professor Sivadana Pillai mentioned, he has already showcased a whole overview. So what we'll be doing is say each one would be bringing a different perspective. I mean, today, each of the faculty, I mean, whether somebody is a dean, a director, just a faculty or head of the department or head of, say, research, R&D, each one has a different perspective, a different environment, a different context. So we hope that with this set of 15 leaders from industry, academia, R&D coming here, each one giving their perspective on leadership and excellence, but the core essence of what Dr. Sivadana Pillai said still holds good, to see that which aspect excites you more or which you think is more simple for you to adapt and maybe you can cause a transformation, or what is it that creates a belief in you that say actually now you can transform, rather than looking at saying, oh, I am helpless, I am just a faculty, or I am a dean, management is not enabling, or my HOD is not enabling. So, but then if we can get this mindset block out of it, everyone, as I also said in the morning, see, nobody designated, I mean, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, or Nelson Mandela as leaders. I mean, but then people followed them because, or even if you look at history, say Shankaracharya, nobody called him a leader. But then in a time and age when there was no map and no navigation, he went across the country, united diverse thoughts from people and brought them together under one umbrella as India and Sanatana Dharma. I mean, way back in 10th century, 11th century AD. And also he defined how, for example, Hinduism is there is no such thing as Hinduism is a more modern English or a Western adaptation, but essentially it was called Sanatana Dharma, of way of living in a very effective way and peacefully and in a coexistence with nature, with people, with everything together. So he could create, and the whole, even today, there is no better rational thought, because Shankaracharya said there is no God. But if you cannot have that full confidence, and God and me are one and the same. But if you don't have that confidence, then okay, you create. Okay, my father is there, he will help me. My teacher is there, he will help me. Or if you believe in the tree, the mountain, the snake, the animal, anything is also fine. Later, he again created hymns in everybody's name. But otherwise, the original thought based on the 5 Mahavakyas of Prajnanam Brahma, knowledge is ultimate. Tattvamasi, you and me are one. Aham Brahmosmi, I am God. Those are the 4 typical Mahavakya of the Vedas. So from time immemorial, knowledge was thought to be ultimate in Indian system. But as Dr. Sivadana Pillai rightly mentioned, somewhere we lost our education system, we lost our belief in ourselves. And anyway, we never even understood, and we started blindly adapting the rote learning process of the British, because they wanted us to learn some systems which they had implemented because they didn't know our language, our culture, our heritage. And we have simply come into a system of rote learning and writing something in the exam. Everything else is irrelevant. There is no learning, no process, no experience. So everything is just mugging up and writing an exam. We have reduced our exam to that. But as whenever there is a necessity, but we have still, if there is a clear direction, we have again excelled, whether it is a nuclear mission mode operation, whether it is ISRO, whether it is DRDO, whether it is biotechnology, or even say now, I mean, say we decided that say next 3 years, we will make sure the whole country is digitalized. Suddenly from 2014 to 2018, now little from as small as 200, we have already more than 1 billion mobile phones and over 600, 700 million network connection has happened. So all it comes down to is somebody as a leader taking a decision, putting a process, educating people about that process and bringing them along and making them realize that it's win-win for us to work or you do something. And that cannot be halfway through, half-baked, because then people will go away. It has to enable everybody, and therefore leadership and excellence go hand in hand. And in this era of knowledge economy, so next, as I said, maybe 45 minutes or 1 hour plus, because I already am late, I want to show some examples of how the whole world is looking at us. Dr. Sivadana Pillai already has shown something as what are the exciting things. Maybe in a modified way, I want to show the same thing as how many exciting new things are happening. Are we even teaching those things in our academic system? And therefore, can we have a simple process without getting into any of the leadership jargon? Can we take some simple words and processes, imbibe into ourselves, and create a rubrics or a metrics and say, can I do this checklist of 4, 5, 6 things? And therefore, whatever my position, create a provision, transformation as a leader. Because when I stand in a class of 20, 30, 40, 60, I am the leader there. They're all willing to listen to me. It's up to me whether I excite them to follow me and come to me with thoughts, questions, answers, suggestions, doubts, or I just push them away and they simply twiddle with their mobile phone or simply sit and keep their eyes open and be eyes wide open and sleep. So therefore, it is very critical, first and foremost. Once again, I'm repeating my only major thought in this whole 1 hour is that knowledge is a key enabler in this new knowledge era society, as Professor Shivadhanu Pillai mentioned. And we as teachers have a unique opportunity. The new education policy, in a way, gives us a broad framework as to how we could do it. There is no one shoe fit all that everybody can do it in the same way, but there could be some broad suggestions and each one of us can contextually adapt to it and make a difference. And therefore, this 5-day FDP, please look at whatever people say and say, how do you contextually adapt to your environment? And then you will see that actually, irrespective of your position, you truly become a leader. You can cause a transformation. And as I said, I just want to show some examples of maybe my limited experience in the last 37 years. It so happened that accidentally, I finished my bachelor's or master's and I went into a job. And on the very first week, I was made to head a department. And I worked there for 3 months. I walk into another place. It is a new institution being set up, an engineering college. So from the 3rd month, I am involved in setting up a lab. From there, after 6 months, for some reason, I have to shift elsewhere. Again, I am made to be in some leader. It's accident or coincidence that I have to take decisions. Or from there, I go to National Physical Laboratory because I want to do serious research. I end up working in a domain called amorphous silicon or large area flexible electronics, which even to this day, we don't teach in our academics. And we create world's highest current density solar cell in 1988-89, including creating process equipments for semiconductors in those days, which today is a standard cluster tool in semiconductor industry, but did not exist in 88-89 across the globe. From there, we are suddenly asked to take up a lab research and make a product for defense and ISRO. And I am asked to set up a facility for Haryana State Electronic Development Corporation, which had a lot of infrastructure for 10 years from a UNDP project, but nothing was happening. Again, I am just a 25-year-old, but then they said, okay, you have done something with experiment, why don't you try? And so I leave my National Physical Laboratory, go to Hartron. We are working there, and we, within 18 or 20 months, from a lab facility which was producing 10,000 per year, or about 50,000 per year, we make sure we generate 15 lakhs per month and product and process for defense, for ISRO, for the local optical industry in Ambala, to even all of Indian photocopier companies. So I'm giving this example just to show that we don't have to know everything to transform. And just 1 or 2 more example, I'll stop with my example, but just to show how it happens. I was studying there, and then Government of India says there is no VLSI program in university, and so Kurukshetra University gets a VLSI program. And I am asked to invited there to set up a semiconductor facility because all the people there were device physicists and simulation people. They had not practically done process and product equipments. And so within 4 years in Kurukshetra University, from 1991 to 1994, or 3.5 years, we actually created a complete semiconductor lab where one could do device simulation. One could grow materials, characterize them, and use the material property in device simulation and fabricate an op-amp or an oscillator integrated circuit with 100 micron capability. Today it may look like very silly when I say 100 micron, but unfortunately, even today, the best say facility today, there's only one Indian semiconductor facility which is doing 135 nanometer technology. I'll just come to an example that SEL Chandigarh, nobody else does this. World already has gone to 1 and 2 nanometer technology, another 15-20 generation. And so we could demonstrate from material process device to integrated circuit. Or similarly, I went to Cambridge and maybe I did a PhD in some domain called vacuum nanoelectronics, the first PhD there, or set up a couple of companies based on that in Japan. So the key point I'm saying is knowing next to nothing, anybody with a bit of motivation and willingness to work with whatsoever is available, whomsoever is available in partnership, and communicating what you want, we can create transformation. And so whatever I may done have been irrelevant or very small, but effectively in the last 10 years in academic system, in private universities, maybe we have created 100 industry-based labs and infrastructure for next generation disruptive technology, from aerospace to agriculture, communication to, antennas to apparels, or medical instrumentation to advanced manufacturing, has been feasible just using students and project. So therefore, I just take this opportunity to give a brief highlight of what is the exciting opportunity where whole world is looking at India. What is it that, say leadership is typically about, especially in the current VUCA world. Some simple definition, I'm sure you will get it on the internet, but then to make a link and that can we do something, show some examples of, as I said, what I was able to do in the last 10 to 15 years, create about 1,000+ crores of infrastructure, or make sure we were involved effectively from old university transforming, or a new university creating things in 2 to 3 years, or also make sure people who had never worked in the domain to actually transform and become leaders. So if we could do it in a small way, I believe I can share this input. Maybe it will not be at the level of what Dr. Shivadana Pillai said, but we are in exciting times. And if anybody can do, I think it is a teacher. So that, and I also want, I already, Professor Kanango has said about our university, so I'll not take much of time, but I'm happy to say that we have a mission which works or correlates to whatever we are talking about, leadership and excellence. So we are saying we want to emerge as a global leader in higher education and attain or pursue excellence using skill and innovation. And I think it does it, though it says it's a vision of our university, I would say whole of Indian higher education today has this opportunity because we have the most number of youngest people in the world. They all need education, and the whole world is looking at knowledge economy, and that education has to come from higher education. It will not be sufficient to just skill somebody and make him a technician. That's also important for jobs, but actually knowledge creation, comprehension, dissemination, whether it's English, history, economics, management, social sciences, engineering, medical, agriculture. Finally, it has to come from higher education. And that higher education system has to move from to know, rote learning and just writing information, to know and do and gain competence. To know information, to do that activity, and from experiential learning, gain skill and competence, and from that understanding, ask questions to do innovation, is what we have to do. And that can only be enabled by a leader, and that leader who can do is the teacher. And therefore, teacher is truly, as I said, from time, empires were created, nations had transformation when teachers took upon them to create transformation. And so we are in one more such situation where the teacher can be the transformer, and that transformation has to start with the mind of the teacher and his willingness to first learn, and his ability to excite his students to do similar things. He only has to give a path, and the student will do in a million ways. So that is what we want to talk about, of leadership and excellence. And so I'm happy our university vision also talks about that. I will not talk about, essentially the light blue are the programs that we already have. The green are the ones that will come up in the future. And as already mentioned in the morning, to make sure the skilling happens, practice of skilling, because you see, anytime across the globe, US was great in technology, Europe were wonderful. But then, so Japan started by just adapting the US technology or starting stitching those Adidas carry bags, leather carry bags or footballs. And from there, they moved to plastic, to metal, to semiconductors. Or they literally took a semiconductor technology, which America at that point thought irrelevant. Westinghouse House had all the data. I mean, some of the best companies there, they said, oh, the semiconductor technology is irrelevant. So when Japan said, can I use? They gave the technology to Japan. And what did Japan do? Use the technology for what? They did not have a great vision of what digital economy will do, but they simply said in those days, they wanted to learn English. To learn English, they needed tape recorders. The tape recorders were huge and bulky. And only even the companies were making tape recorders that, oh, we only need a few thousand tape recorders. But then Akio Murata thought, can I use the semiconductor? Can I make the tape thinner and smaller? Can I carry it in my pocket so that I can learn English even when I'm traveling in my Tokyo metro? So from that thought, semiconductors got started using in transistors and tape recorders. And from there, I think the whole new innovation, but without even the bigger vision, but just a simple thought of a transformative thought, a big tape recorder made to more compact size. And for that use semiconductor device. And Americans thought that was an irrelevant technology. And these people use those device to, so therefore the skill and the knowledge is very critical. Just thinking, oh, it's a technician's job, I am a professor, I'm going to teach, doesn't help. If I don't know the skill, how will I tell my skilling person what he has to do, or why should he do it in a modified way? If you go to I had some experience, 6 years working in Japan or setting up companies. I learned from there that, see, even the MD of a company will literally know how to handle a nut and bolt, a screwdriver, or every machine literally in this company. Design. So if he has come to India for setting up a company, you might find that for a small company MD, he would simply come with an overall, like a worker with all those, multiple packets for screwdriver, clipping, clamping, hammer, whatever, all the tools, and he will start working. But the next day morning in the meeting, you will see that he will be suited, booted, and he is the MD of the company. So he knows from the smallest nut and bolt to 36,000 feet overview. And a teacher with his knowledge has to have similar capability. He should be able to do the experiential learning and educate people with their experiments, small things. At the same time, whether he is discussing with an industry or in the class, bring out the bigger context of a same phenomenon, whether it is the heat and thermodynamics, my heat transfer, or whether it is, piezoelectric effect, whether it is electron transport, or whether it is, say macroeconomic phenomena or microeconomics, say how is it the correlation to current day, or what is the new possibility. So we need to bring that contextual references, linking it to simple technical things, to the fundamental theories, and from there to emerging opportunity. And therefore, we are happy as an institution. We have created multiple labs. And these labs cover every aspect of emerging technology, from computation to mechanical manufacturing to chemical processing, food processing to high performance computing, and all aspects. And we are trying to see how do we have actually maybe created a process where it links teaching, learning, and research all seamlessly, with a focus to make sure that every assignment and every teaching of the class by the teacher actually even gives them back research capability of data and inputs from student. So, as per the new education policy, I'm talking about this because you see, the teacher has to be the leader. And if the teacher does not have as a systems overview, as Professor Shivadanu Pillai mentioned, so whatever we are teaching has to, every subject or overall the program should have some foundation courses, a core domain and its related electives, a general perspective course to link to the world at large, whether it is in terms of sustainability, whether it is in terms of economics, whether it is in terms of intellectual property, whether it is in terms of people's culture, habits, processes, systems, a perspective course, and then open multidisciplinary electives. So that, say, for example, I wanted to be a doctor, I have become a mechanical engineer. I should have a provision to look at that mechanical engineer and see, can I do something with medical domain? I wanted to be a musician. I am in computer science or electronics. So can I use some of these open electives to see how could I take my computer science knowledge or programming knowledge or my electronics knowledge to music, or similarly to take it to agriculture. So the open electives have been created for such perspective, and to practice anything and everything that they have learned is the labs, the internships, and the skill courses. And the skill courses are again divided into life skills and professional skills and foundation domain skills. So this is the broad overview. And when a teacher teaches in the class, they should know what is the structure. I may be teaching English, I may be teaching mathematics, I could be teaching electronics, or I will be teaching civil engineering or history. But I should be able to bring this perspective of why, I mean, see, if I'm teaching to a computer science student or I'm teaching to a history major, see, if I'm talking to a history major, I should excite him to look at the history of science and technology, linking from, I mean, Alexander to say current day, or just like Professor Shivadanu Pillai had shown how over the last 2000 years, our technology, whether it is a Panchaloha, whether it is Ayurveda, whether it is a Siddha medicine, things have evolved. So make him excited to go into see, because today current history excavations in the recent past and linked with science and technology, we are able to say that our history actually, and along with the astrological data mentioned in our stories, Ramayana, Mahabharata, we can actually say that, and with computational calculations say, such a planetary configuration would have happened 50,000 years ago or 1 lakh year ago. So even the 4 yugas could be indirectly calculated. That is what the new high performance computing and mathematical calculation gives us, that there could have been, I mean, we are maybe, if, I mean, it is still, let us presume it's a story, but the calculations actually take back, say that you can predict up to 1 lakh year. So how do I excite my student is always make it storytelling. So therefore, in the history, he could use this and therefore study history. Or if you're teaching computer science, or if you're taking big data analytics, can you again bring history and a story to excite the student to say, see, these happened, somewhere we lost. Why don't you look at doing something what you like? So that is the exciting opportunity. And that can only happen through somebody who is holistically aware of what is there and can excite the student. And so anybody who can excite anybody to follow them or get interested in what they are talking, I would call them as a guru or a leader or whatever you want to call. So therefore, a teacher is truly a leader, and the new education policy is giving that opportunity. And therefore, we need to make use of it. I'll not go into all of these details of the new education policy. Maybe we'll have a detailed study at some point, but these are some of the key parameters that the education policy wants us to look at. But overall, see that we create, first of all, a joy of learning, and the student is able to use anything and everything that he learns in every context in life. Whether he is doing with business, whether he's in manufacturing, whether he's doing social service, he should be able to make use of this and use all this knowledge to even create new product, process, services, and solution. So just to mention why are we again talking about leaders to academics is that education globally is going to be a 10 trillion industry. Of that 10 trillion, India is supposed to have 300 to 400 billion dollar education business. Even if you forget all of this, if you see most of the leading institutes in the world today already have Indian professors. The whole world is looking at us. I mean, they think Indian students are great, but then see, they don't realize that out of 300 million, there is only hardly, I mean, say 15 million students who have gone out. So that's a very small percentage. But then we, in India, we say our students are unemployable. So something is wrong. Our students are employable if they get a context to work, or somewhere, I mean, they get a finishing touch from our education. We do 95% of the job, and the 5% finishing touch that they get anywhere else in the world suddenly makes them world leader. Even a second class or a third class student here becomes a world leader. Whereas a gold medalist after 5 years is lost. He's a professor or a company scientist, or he's a manager in a company, but suddenly he looks like an idiot. He doesn't know what to do. He has to blindly expect somebody to give him a decision, what to do next. Then he's able to do. That is because of a rote learning. But then the new education policy gives opportunities. So can we as teachers leverage it to become leaders and once again create the transformation? And therefore, we need to talk about leaders, I mean, in this situation. So that's why we are talking about leadership. And as I said, it's a huge, education is a huge opportunity. When every business is closing, knowledge business will be thriving. But then I'll again come to the VUCA world and why we should be talking about VUCA world in education in next few minutes. So therefore, from the conventional education, the future education is being far more different. It has to incorporate various 21st century skills. It has to bring in digital skills. It has to bring in advanced technology. So it needs wide range of expertise to be created, and it cannot be happening with the process of business as usual. And all of that it can only happen when we can do that. For example, a small story. I always appreciate feel proud about Sir C.V. Raman, under whose name the university is named, and also one more major Indian engineer who made a transformation, Bharat Ratna, Sir M. Visvesvaraya. So once Sir M. Visvesvaraya went to university and he was meeting many children, even parents had come there. So one of the parents of one of the kid met him on the way, and also the teacher. Both of them said, see, this student is always eating chocolates. Why don't you tell him not to eat chocolate? Sir Visvesvaraya said, oh, is it so? Okay, I'll come after 1 month and I will advise him. So what he did was, nobody understood what is so big he should come after a month. But then he came back after a month to that local institute school and then met that student along with the teacher and all that. And then he said, you see, eating chocolate is bad. You should not eat. It doesn't help. There should be a limit to what you eat and how you should clean your teeth and all that. So then somebody asked, why is it that you needed 1 month to say this? He said, I also eat a lot of sweets. So I literally stopped eating sweet before coming here to tell him not to eat the sweet. So if the teacher has to teach, he should have practiced. And that is where the skill and the competence that Dr. Shivadana Pillai mentioned is very critical. I'll not go into all this about Indian education market. But as I said, the education for the 21st century is more about adaptive problem solving, collaborative communication, digital fluency, and for all this, innovative, and basically the students also in general, should be able to get knowledge in being investigative explorers or researchers. They should be capable of solving problems. They should be able to use foundation skills, numerical skills, and use them to calculate, design, develop problem solvers, and be able to communicate effectively, because they're talking and doing new things. It cannot be from a by-hearted statement. So they should be creative enough to use their knowledge capability, their subject capability, their problem solving capability, and emerging opportunity, and communicate it creatively. And for all of this to happen, they should also learn to read. They should be voracious readers, versatile readers. They should be able to read a lot of things, and above all, link all this knowledge and critically think how I can do something different. And therefore, they're also resourceful learners. So all this, I think, is what is the 21st century skills, or what national education policy explains us to do. And that is what we are expected to do in the current education process: bring in learning, reading, audio, visual, experiential demonstration, discussion groups, practicing by doing, teaching others. So whether they say you do peer learning, whether you say project-based learning, whether it says assignment, case studies, simulation, lab activity, and so blended learning with flipped classroom are all some of these aspects of the education. So to do that, the teacher has to be competent, and the teacher can only be a competent when he is thorough and he can give the direction. And further, he has to lead that student to be an excellent student. And therefore, excellence is another word. And in general, I don't mind sharing this slide many times everywhere. See that our teaching should enable, or our broad ways of curriculum program should make sure it covers the 4 W's. It tells the students what are the tools that they need for working in the future, whatever their domain. How can they working with their colleagues, working with their senior, working with their subordinates. So teamwork, communication. And once they are working, if there are issues, ways of thinking, how do you think? And how, whether critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving, all this come in. And above all, ways of living. Because finally, you are living in the world, you have to create new products, processes, solutions. So depending on people's living, see, for example, Corona happened. We didn't have PPE. Suddenly, the way everybody had to have PPE. So, I mean, the companies adapted from some technology, and overnight, in 3 months, we became world's largest producer of PPE. So that is adapting to the ways of living. Everybody needed masks, so more masks were manufactured. Ways of living also, everybody now wears masks and moves around. And suddenly we discovered that our original way of washing hand, changing clothes, coming into the house, washing hands and legs, eating fresh and clean food than stale food, everything is good enough now. That is what is a modern COVID protocol. But then there was a regular tradition in our olden systems, but somewhere in our modern age, we thought it was irrelevant. So ways of living. So the 4 W's we should make sure we teach. I mean, create in our process and system or our pedagogy for learning, tools for working, ways of thinking, and ways of living in the world. And to make sure if this has happened or not, we need to assess, has the student got this? So my assessment should therefore make sure, first of all, see how is my student's ability to communicate the things he has understood, the things he wants to communicate differently, and all of them. Is he able to think critically? Is he able to work with people? Is he being creative? So this cannot be examined by an end semester terminal exam, summative exam. And therefore, our assignments, our projects, our class activities should assess at every stage, formative, continuous assessment to see that we see the learning is happening. And in every project, every domain, everything is multidisciplinary. That's what is written here. So all this can be delivered, and product, process, system, innovation, Atmanirbharta can happen when the student gains this knowledge and confidence and competence to do things. And these can only be, I mean, if मैं तोते बन के यही है पढ़ना, ये बने बनाए रटे रटाए rotes, whatever I have for the last 50 years, I'm going to reproduce as a parrot, it will not happen. So, and the teacher himself has to know, because the books might be from America. It will give an American. He should even be critical thinking, reading, creative thinking to link it to the contextual solutions and problems which have happened. So that, I mean, say he excites them, student, because whether I'm teaching English, history, simply talking something about Russia or Germany or what happened in China and they're successful, the student is not happy or not even excited. But can you tell him, if I'm teaching in Trichy, I say, oh, in Trichy, there is a whole defense corridor. If I'm teaching in Ahmedabad, I say that, see, Ahmedabad is now transforming into a manufacturing hub and also cyber security hub. If I'm teaching in Delhi, I say how all sorts of new fintech are coming up. Or if I'm going to teach in Haryana, I say that what is the excellent opportunity for agriculture and how all my domain knowledge can cause transformation in agricultural technology and manufacturing technology. So can I bring that contextual reference by looking at my local companies, products, process, or even the state government reports to excite the student? So these are things that can only happen when I want to be a leader. I am on the top of my subject, top of my environment. And so the whole thing, I can therefore excite. And so the 21st century skills, as I said, one is the foundation skills: literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, ICT literacy, financial literacy, cultural and civic literacy. This is what we study. That's why in the school we study physics, chemistry, math, science, history, civics, geography, all of that. When you come to higher subjects, you come to more specific domains. And further, you also study competences: critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, collaboration. And overall, then for all of this to be effective and truly to be a leader, you need to develop additional qualities or character qualities like curiosity, initiative, persistence, adaptability, social and cultural awareness. So these are all to be taught and assessed learning any subject. So we might have to create rubrics or metrics even for this in our assessment. So can I now, instead of independently doing an English course, independently doing a mathematics course and assignment, independently doing a physics or electronics, or even in a given semester, if there are 4 subjects, can we join together for a one problem-based assignment where all of these are cumulatively assigned? And therefore, we, from our assignment itself, generate research data and also find out which student is excited about which aspect of learning, so that we give them those opportunities so that they get excited or make them get skill in that domain. And therefore, in higher semester, they can do design, development, product, manufacturing. So it's an exciting opportunity. Therefore, only a leader, see, that guru could identify from a goalkeeper that say he is also could be a wicket keeper. So you or a shepherd sitting, a boy sitting with students and playing, Chanakya could identify, say he is going to be a leader. So that is there, and that can happen only with somebody who truly has, I mean, though he did not actually become a Chanakya was no real, but he was still a great leader because he could identify. Or if there is a Mahatma Gandhi, he could identify so many people for so many roles. And therefore, I mean, the freedom movement still happened. I mean, in every system, there are some mistakes, some right things, but still, at least the freedom happened without a bloodshed, because he was very clear in a nation like India, where the Western people had literally denuded us of our land, property, wealth, and made us paupers. I mean, getting these people surviving, looking at hand-to-mouth existence to fight a battle would be impossible. So he had to strategize, plan it well. In his mind, he had a very clear thought how it has to be done. So for everybody, there was small modular activity defined what you have to do without getting them confused with other things. And they saw the benefit that they could do something and be part of our freedom movement. So they went along with Gandhi. So that is how you as a teacher are going to be leaders who are truly going to be transformative in this era of knowledge economy. But then to do that, you need to be completely aware of all the processes, all the systems, all the feature facility that is available in your command. You may have something, you may not have something, but from what is available, can you do that? And as we said, every time things are changing. Companies which were there, if you look at the NASDAQ company, what was there in, say, 1990, say even our own India, say BSE or NSE, what was in 1990 top 10, they are not there in 200. What was in 200 is not there in 210, and what was in 210 is entirely changed in 220. Only hardly 3-4 companies remain, others have gone. So things are changing. So that is why we are talking about VUCA world, because there is no such thing as permanent. Everything, change is the only constant. So, and Eric Hoffer once said, in the times of change, the learners inherit the earth, and the learned are wonderfully equipped with solutions to problems that no more exist. So we as teachers who are enablers of learning cannot be those useless people who don't have a solution for what is happening, but only have solution for problems that no more exist. So therefore, we need to transform ourselves as leaders. We need to gain competence and skill, and we need to impart it to the student so that he excels. Every guru, I mean, see, you will always see that most of the time, even his guru's aspiration. See, I mean, Drona was a good archer, but for him, I mean, Arjuna or an Ekalavya turned out to be a better archer. I mean, Achrekar, everybody might have now heard the name, but we don't even know if he played local club cricket. But then Tendulkar to Kamli to Anmol Majumdar, everybody played for state or national or international cricket. So they transformed them. So therefore, we, as I said, leadership is a unique opportunity, and that opportunity, especially when knowledge-enabled leadership is called for, has to come from academic system. And therefore, we need to not be worried about, oh, my boss is not doing. See, within my hold, what I have within it, what can I transform that my boss is forced to give me my recognition? My management is forced to put the investment. My student is now forced to listen because he's so excited. He finds value in listening to me. So that is how we need to transform. And therefore, we are talking about leadership. As we said, the 21st century education, as we go towards 2030, 2050, involves knowledge, attitude, values, and skill. And these have to be developed as also from the core foundation. Therefore, we need to create with these things capabilities of creating new value, reconciling to tension and dilemmas, taking responsibility, or transformative competence creation. So that is what will create the new world. And therefore, and all this happens with a continuous process of action, reflection, and anticipation. And therefore, when things are changing so much, and if somebody can give all this solution, only those people who have a 36,000 feet overview, or who have a holistic view, who can do system thinking, who can do design thinking linked with system thinking, will be the people who will find that solution. And the teacher is one such leader who can do that. Because of their experience, because of their knowledge, because of their ability to communicate. If not, let us cultivate it, because we always need to again believe in what Edison said: inspiration is 1%, perspiration 99%. Anything can be achieved with perspiration. I mean, even it may look like great when an artist paints something in one line. And if I have to reproduce that one line based on Mahatma Gandhi figure, or if somebody can make a whole circle with perfect radius at every dimension from the center and put a center point, an artist can do that. It may take a lifetime to redraw it, because that needs so much of practice to recreate even a simple circle and putting a central point of the circle, or say even doing that Mahatma Gandhi figure with a single line. I mean, without taking my hand out. Therefore, if we practice, experiential learning, competence, skill, knowledge, all have to go together to enable the changes. As just now already Dr. Shivadana Pillai mentioned, you see whole of this world, the economy. Every time India was typically up to mid 1930, 40, more than 20% of the world economy, even when the British looted us and let us to starve. And now, so even today, China is only 16% of global economy, but we were most part of the time 25% of world economy. In the middle of the knowledge economy, we can once again become that 25% economy. And if all this changes in 75 years and just growing from a few 100 million to 2.5 trillion, we have so much of things like looking good. But then the distance between the rich and the poor is expanded. If in next 8 to 10 years, or say even 20 years, we become 5, 10 or trillion, you just imagine how much we will enable everybody. And all this enabling has to happen with education. And therefore, this leadership discussion and saying, now take the reins in your hand. Teacher is the only one who can make this. And so let us realize our potential. Don't wait for others to appreciate. Have a self-belief and confidence and see, can we create that? Because you see the whole world, depending on whose prediction you go, in next 10 to 15 years, India is going to be a 5 trillion, 10 trillion, or even 20 trillion economy. At the same time, today, in today's dollar conversion, we are maybe 2.5 to 2.6 trillion economy after 75 years. And all this, as I said in the beginning, as much as Dr. Shivadana Pillai said, he has taken help from institution. Out of 5,000, 50,000 institutions, if 200 institutions have helped, that is nothing. It is just a small percentage. Every college, every student, university should be enabling technology capabilities, because every local student should become an entrepreneurial person or be competent enough to find a job. So, the 200 colleges, if they have done, it is nothing. It's just a 0.01 or 0.1% of the 55,000 odd institutions, 52,000 plus institutions in India, or 1,200 plus universities in India today, 1,100 plus universities. Among the close to 38 million students who are studying higher education. So therefore, we have 600 million young people. Today, already there are 300 million, of which 38 million are in higher education. In the next few years, we will have 600 million. Both people in job need to study, lifelong learning. People who are in the school and college also need to study. For all of them to become viable, teachers have to make that process. And that's why the new education policy says it has to be learner-centric. We need no more rote learning. It is like we said, see, you give somebody cooked fish, it will only last for some time. But then you teach them how to fish, they know for lifetime, how to survive. So we need to start teaching them. That is where knowledge and skill come together. How to fish, where to fish, which area. So their knowledge and skill have to be linked with precision. Excellence, because simply having knowledge and skill, as we were discussing yesterday with my colleagues, I say I want to get a mango on my tree, I simply throw stones somewhere, it will not have. And if I have 10 stones or 5 stones, I should now literally do my mental calculation from where I am standing. Just now, again, Dr. Shivadana Pillai said how the whole world had a ballistic, projectile based activity, which was sort of one single direction, but we made maneuverable satellites so that they cannot track it, because even if it has to hit from Balasore, if it has to go and hit Bombay, it will first look like it is going to Chennai and then suddenly change direction instantaneously, and plus it is again moving at a very high velocity, so that for them to retrack and hit, it may be too late. It might have made all its calculation that what is the diagonal it will take, and then it will take another 30 or 40 degree turn to directly come and hit Bombay. So therefore, that we need to make knowledge and skill to come together for student, and also educate them how to learn, because things are changing. What I learned in my school or what I learned in my college, what I learned 15 years back is different from what I'm teaching or what I'm researching now. We are in the age of automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, industry 4.0, in the IoT, sustainable materials. For all of this, none of us learned any of these words. But it still needs the same foundation and fundamental. It is just a question of how do I link them and use them. Every time somebody tells, say artificial intelligence, machine learning, I say, have you learned adaptive control? Essentially, it is giving some data back, taking the data back and looking at what happened. And then, so even if I were to work on an oscillator, I give, or an amplifier, I'm giving back some part of the signal and moving forward. So principles don't change. It's a question of now, how do you use it more effectively with more capabilities? So the teacher has to become this leader who can generate the excellence. Then the opportunity is mind-blowing. And just to mention why, if you look at the top universities today in terms of ranking, whether you look at the global rankings, whether you look at publication, this is just a Nature report which has come recently, a few months back. You see that there are so many young institutions today who are ranked within the top 100 and 200. And therefore, what stops us? India is a young country. If you look at the highest global rankings in higher education, major institutions are 100 years, 150 years, but only say 20 to 25% or 30%, depending on which parameter you are looking, as younger. But then there is still 25% of institutions less than 50. So we don't have to worry that, say, whether we are a new college or whether we are transferring into university or we are 40-year-old, because the high-ranking universities are 100-year-old. So we, even now, if we want to, and plus today, that's why we are talking of the VUCA world, that in a VUCA world, where there's so much of vulnerability, so much of changes, anybody with a good idea, good process, good system can transform and leapfrog. So therefore, this is just to say how, so many young universities are today performing very well in terms of their capability, and they share, a lot of research outcomes compared to older institutions. The number of younger institutions, for example, in India, is one of the fastest growing ones compared to most countries. You don't have to look at, Saudi Arabia neither has the money nor neither has the people nor the capability, but yes, there are some new percentage of young university, but then how many university? But when you just imagine 4 years back, if you had looked at the number of universities in India in the iShare report, it might have said it's 800. Today, it's already 1,100. So we are one of the fastest growing as a university. Number of young, and the new education policy says most autonomous colleges will come under university, and we will only have university, or so most affiliated colleges. We will only have universities or very core specialized autonomous, again, in a way, standalone institutions, which are like university degree awarding. So we might soon have 2,000 or 2,500 universities. So every one of us, whoever is expecting to work for, because by 30-35, the whole education system has to have come to the new education policy. We should have had universities, no more affiliated colleges. So you're all going to be, whether you are in an affiliated college or whether you are somewhere else, all are going to be professors and your leaders of transformation. You are no more going to be just an affiliated college faculty. But even in an affiliated college, you can create transformation in your class just by using your assignments and projects. So it's up to you if you can make use of it and make it happen. So this is just to again say how young universities and academic band, where do they see? Like if you're looking at small universities which are within last 50 years or 20 years, say you have some 0.6% of them in the first 10 rank and 1% in the first 50, or roughly same in the first 100. But as you go lower, suddenly, the percentage is increasing. India alone has 1,100 plus universities, but in the top 750 universities in the world, 54% are young universities less than 50 years. What does it mean? So it means the younger universities are able to transform and perform better. If it is doing that, somebody is taking a leadership role. And in any academic institution, I say whatever the management, whatever anybody else, if the teacher doesn't believe in himself and becomes a leader, nothing will get implemented. So it is an opportunity for me as a teacher to look at this transformation and make sure this implementation happens. So, and I am not talking from blind information, but this is the information just in the last 5 years. From Nature report, which is, you can go and verify in Nature, volume 600, 2021. And you see, where is the maximum happening? Asia Pacific. So it is in the region where India, China, South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, everybody is located. So it means if all this is happening, why are we still wanting to stick on to my old systems? It is like, say, there is a story we always say, like, see a frog, if it is in a well, as the temperature slowly starts increasing, it tries to wiggle and somehow manage its position to manage with the temperature. But at some point, the water becomes boiling. The frog is cooked. We don't want to be cooked like the frog. We want to be jumping out of the frog, that pond or well. And as I said, if we were a college, we are like being somebody in a well. If I'm an autonomous institution, I am like somebody who is being in a river. I have far more. But then the way of dealing with a well and way of swimming and surviving in river is different. But if I'm a university, I'm like the ocean. And again, the ways of survival are entirely different. I cannot say I need the same level of comfort as it was in the well, and I want to now survive in the ocean. It doesn't happen. Things are, and that is where, as we said again, the ocean is the most VUCA world, more dynamic, more changes. Every minute there is huge storm happening. You have waves, and suddenly water goes down, or there is tides, high tide, low tides. So all of that we need to be ready, but still be strong enough to withhold ourselves and survive. And that is where, and that can only happen when you are at the top of your mental capabilities, or you're truly a leader. And again, leadership in these young universities, you don't see anywhere it says engineering. You see, somebody is top with chemistry, some other universities in the first 4 is the top 4 young universities. It is essentially it is a University of Chinese Academy of Sciences, Southern University of Science Technology, China, Nanyang Technological University, Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. They are the 4 youngest institutions with highest publication and research care, and they are ranked highest among the young ones. See, the subjects that they excel is not the same. Each one is different. If you look at the next fastest rising universities like City University of Hong Kong, Guangdong University, or Shanghai Technology University, or Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Science in Bangalore. See, again, you see the subjects are not one and the same. And possible future young universities which are expected to. There you also have a Homi Bhabha National Institute of Technology. The BARC has become a standalone autonomous degree giving BD. They have PhD students and some master program happening. See, now from their publication, but are they all publishing in the same area? Are they doing in the same? But everything involves chemistry, physical sciences, life sciences, earth and environment. So we are saying we are in the digitalized world, but digitalization is an enabler for everything. Engineering is an enabler for everything. But the product process systems are linked with chemistry, physics, life sciences, earth sciences. Life sciences can be botany, zoology, it can be medical science, it can be allied para-health, health sciences, paramedical system. So we need to now realize that I cannot do some research in a niche area, but I need to work and collaborate with my friends and work in a multidisciplinary way to do research and to leapfrog and become a leader. So these are thought process. So I'll not go into all of this, but just to say that in the global value chain everywhere, in every industry that you look at, India is expected to contribute. And whether it is a service industry, like say transport, healthcare, IT services, professional services, energy utilities, or whether it is manufacturing from pharma to machinery, everywhere knowledge component is increasing. Therefore, whether it is a product, a process, or a service, knowledge is key. Similarly, when recently, there was a survey of the World Economic Forum on what is the people's attitude towards change and how do they look at it. Everybody who is in the educational age says they are going to study more. Effectively, you see close to 90% say they will need more training and education. Even people who are already in the job, 93% say they will be looking at education. So therefore, everybody is looking at education, and if they need to be supported, if anybody can support, it is the teacher. So the teacher, and therefore same in this is just to say multiple domains, new innovations are expected. I will not talk because already Professor Shivadana Pillai has say, even if you think as simple as a clean energy, not even grid linked, off grid linked is a 500 billion industry. So anything from business model to market design to system operation and maintenance to new technologies has value. And therefore, you could be teaching electrical, electronics, mechanical, and or you could be taking my MBA or BBA. You all into economics and can look at energy alone as an opportunity for the whole $500 billion opportunity. 25% of Indian economy in another 10 years. So, and whatever technology you look at, India is somewhere here in a sweet spot that for both job production and manufacturing and value creation. See, this is where India is in the middle of this spot where between enhanced potential job creation capability and enhanced production and value creation. Most other places, if only automation happens, jobs will be lost, value will be created. But we are in a position in every domain. You look at every production, manufacturing, healthcare, financial, energy, whatever you look at, we are in that position. And we are sort of, and the Indian value is expected to grow in all. So these opportunities can only happen if we take opportunity, as I said, whether it is in computer science, whether it is in manufacturing, whether it is in material science, whether it is IT, every domain there is opportunity, agriculture. So, and this opportunity has to be taken up by us. And even the biggest opportunity is the whole world says the way we developed so far, we have damaged our environment. So we need to move to a sustainable way, or more importantly, a circular way that nothing ever gets waste. Any material produced may be used for something. The waste is again done something to recreate a new material or the same material or generate energy and then move back into the ecosystem. Circular economy. So without even inventing something new in an existing process, if I can work towards a circular economy alone in the next 10 to 15 years is $1 trillion opportunity. And all this has to happen from our teaching, learning process. And so the amount and everywhere people are needed. Just saying so many new areas. You have opportunity. So can we start looking at it? Can we start working towards it? Every domain, agriculture to aerospace, construction to mechanical engineering. In the age of Industry 4.0, digitalization, automation, and in the age of IoT, Internet of Things or Internet of Everything, knowledge-based economy, and things are going to happen very fast. Globalization is happening, but everything that happens has to be sustainable. But again, they have to be done in an optimized way. Sustainability cannot lead to more cost, and it has to be done at a speed. So looking at all of this alone, we are talking of VUCA world. So therefore, it comes down again, as I said, for a teacher to learn at the emerging opportunities and see how can they in every domain. India is expected to be a leader, as you saw in the previous slides, and so many new jobs to be created in this emerging domain. Even as old jobs are being exhausted. So this calls for transformation in education and skilling, and it can only be created somebody who is at the top of his game. So that if the teacher cannot be a leader and who cannot inspire others towards excellence, this creation will not happen. And therefore, it is very critical that we as teachers truly look at moving towards, as I said from the very beginning, this VUCA world, I'm sure you all know, and everyday people talk about it. They say it is in terms of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Depending on who you are talking, somebody says as soon as the world war, the Russia Great Wall collapsed, communism collapsed, Americans did not know what to do, and various war games that the American army was practicing changed. So they said, now how do we now practice and be prepared for an enemy? Who will be that enemy? So while talking about it, they roughly spoke about VUCA word. And as the Afghan war and the Iran war happened, and again they did not know who were the enemy who are going to happen. Because it was not as a uniform war, but an asymmetric war between one single, bomber and a whole army anytime can be surprised. Again, they started talking about VUCA world, and more formally in an academic process, leader make the future by Bob Johnson. When he wrote a book, he in a book officially spoke and wrote about VUCA world. So there are many theories, but it doesn't matter whether you're talking of book, whether you're talking of the world war, whether you're talking about, any other situation. But the key is, today we are in the COVID has further changed because all the supply chains have been disrupted. The whole world supply chain, as we showed earlier, and the whole world is looking now India as a value chain partner compared to what everybody thought. Anyway, they will get free product from China. They don't want to work with China. And otherwise, they want to make their production in their own countries captive and also find a more genuine, reliable partner. So it has again, the whole system has changed. So it has become volatile, uncertain, complexity, ambiguity, everything has happened. And in the case of an VUCA world, the best practices, as we said, getting product from China and manufacturing in America or just assembling in India and selling is no more. It was the best practice, very profitable. Indian companies made millions of rupees, billions of rupees. But then today, the best practice was yesterday. Best thinking in demand is in demand today for a better tomorrow. Because otherwise everything is going to go down the drain. So therefore, it calls for leadership. It calls for a different management approach, in a dynamic and changing environment. It is no more about material, product, process, supply chain. It is as much about psychology and logic, logistics, and also empathy. That is why the whole world today is talking about sustainable development, looking at humans, looking at plants, looking at animals, looking at environment in the development, and saying no more development, unethical, mindless progress of profit, but more ethical growth has to. And all this can only happen when it starts from the education. Therefore, this multidisciplinary education where psychology, logic, logistic, empathy for our fellow beings, to even the plants, the animals, the fishes, to environment. All of this has to happen in a cumulative way. And all this can happen only with a system and design thinking. And therefore, it calls for true leadership. And that's why we are having this discussion on leadership. And we are talking why we as faculty need to just I'm sure that when we talk of circular economy, because this is something we need to incorporate in our academics, we need to bring in sustainability and circular economy as a key feature of our education, whether I teach English, sociology, psychology, philosophy, medicine, agriculture, engineering, or say market management or advertising. So that is the new requirement. So, and that doesn't need completely disruptive innovation, but it's modified adaptation of existing situation for circular economy. Why should we talk of circular economy or sustainability? Because we have used all our materials in such a way that if you were to today look at the Mendeley's table, close to 40 materials may not be there another 20 years or 30 years from now if we work the way we are doing now. So to even protect our material, to be sustainable, to save our environment, we need to look at circular economy and sustainability, or look at what I call the Navaratnas. Refuse, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and recover. So these the 9 R's have to be followed very meticulously, and we need to bring it into our education. As we again showed some of the earlier images, it has a huge amount of opportunity, but the risks are huge. But if we can bring in the circular economy principles into it, it gives opportunity, and that can only when we do this opportunity, the survival of this whole world is possible, and we'll be able to even meet all our demand. And all that has to come from education. And you see that India is a source of so many raw material, but then we don't even produce steel. We still sell our bad steel to raw material to China and pay 10 times the cost to buy steel from China. We take all electronic products, make powder out of them, all the dirty work, and burn them and everything in India, and sell that compact powder, clean powder to say Europe or Japan or Korea, and they extract gold, silver, platinum, everything from that, and then sell it back to us. So we are always doing the coolies work. We are not doing the upper level of the work. So if we have to have the whole cycle of work from being just a coolie or just a low end of the work, we need to become leaders in technology. So as Dr. Shivadana Pillai rightly mentioned, and therefore I just want to give 1 or 2 examples and finish in under 5 minutes. You see, just for example, I was talking about semiconductors. See, the whole world is talking today in the age of digitalization would need semiconductor devices, whether it is my wearable device, whether it is my pressure monitoring device, whether it is my computer, whether it is my mobile, whether it is my sensor, which tells what is the room temperature and when the air condition should be turned on, whether it is electrical mobility, whether it is a factory automation. For all the semiconductors to work, Dr. Shivadana Pillai rightly said, we have been very smart. We have used our programming capability. But then if the device does not come from America, if the device does not come from core semiconductor device or the core IC doesn't come from Germany or Britain or America or Taiwan or China, we are left with nowhere to go. We don't have that core technology. Thus, software is like the language. I may know English. I can give a flowery talk on semiconductor technology, on advanced remote robotic surgery, on agriculture, on economics, on sustainability. But then if I don't have the materials to work with it, I'm always dependent on somebody. And every day, as we said, before, what is it, our COVID, we sort of blindly got everything from China. Suddenly the disruption happened. So what do? We are struck. So it's a VUCA world. We do not know where we will get the material. Can we make the device? And for example, the whole of India, if you look at electrical mobility. So the digital, and even in this digitalization, see, why I want to call it VUCA world, digitalization as an example is semiconductor we don't have. Finally this year, government announces a policy saying so many lakhs of crores, 26,000 lakhs of crores or 1,000 crores or, say $10 billion for semiconductor. But then is it a good enough plan? Will it over 5 years? Why? This year alone, Intel and TSMC, world's 2 largest semiconductor companies, number 1 and number 2, are planning to invest $30 billion to be prepared for the next 5 years. This year alone, AMD, the next best processor manufacturer other than Intel, is working with Global Semiconductors. Global Semiconductors is working with BMW and planning about $5 to $6 billion investment for semiconductor process. So between the top 2 and 3 semiconductor companies who are already world leaders, invested billions of dollars, they have $35 to $36 billion investment. India, which has only 1 semiconductor facility in Chandigarh, which can only do 135 nanometer technology, and again for a limited set of products for indigenous application for defense and aerospace, cannot cater to all our requirement. If we put 10 billion, at the most we can do some design and make a wafer in Taiwan, slice and dice it and package it. And it also includes display. And we are already moved in last 3 years from 200 mobile phones to 1 billion mobile phone. Our network has gone over 600 to 700 million people are using internet, and displays are going to expand. And India says we will make display. Leaders in 2000, the world's largest TV manufacturer was Japan. Sharp was one of the largest, Sony Sharp. Suddenly by 2010, Samsung had already taken over them. And now everything is from Korea. China makes some low end. Japanese have literally given up, LCD manufacturing, except developing advanced some semiconductor, like Professor Shivadana Pillai said. They get everything from Korea and put only the hardware to give a better quality in Sony. But then anytime, because some of the better advanced LCD displays, flexible display, curved display are coming from Samsung, and they are also making the semiconductor. Japan may even find that they also cannot do that. So it's a VUCA world where they'll be lost, and our even planning is not good enough. And the worst part, we are sitting in education, and why am I calling digitalization as VUCA? None of us can actually write good algorithms, though he said great things from 100 to 100, but then we need 55,000 colleges to enable students to be ready for writing those programs or ready for manufacturing semiconductor chips. Just imagine today, if I look at the international technology roadmap for semiconductors or international roadmap for semiconductor devices and systems in IEEE, semiconductor device, sorry, I'm talking too much semiconductor, but I'll just finish in another few minutes. Means typically people might at the most know diode and transistor, but between the diode and transistor, there are 2000 variation. I can assure you, even in IIT, professor cannot off the cuff talk of more than 5 to 10 devices. And most of us never even talk about it. We don't even know what is the material used. Everybody thinks still silicon. Silicon is only very, very small fraction. So many new materials and have come into semiconductor device we don't teach. We don't even talk about the process. A professor in IIT writes a book in 2020. It is a 2010 book of America reproduced with some new Indian calculation without even writing a topic like large area flexible electronics, which is a 200 billion market. Every photocopier, scanner, printer, mobile phone, touch screen, all of them use large area flexible electronics. Most people do not know there is something called, a thin film transistor, which is run by materials like amorphous semiconductors, organic semiconductors, metal oxide semiconductors. What is their turn on, turn off voltage? They will be doing low voltage VLSI simulation for a 45 nanometer technology without even knowing it is 45 because it is a commoditized VLSI design, but they don't even know where it goes, what is the technology. That's the VUCA world where we are living in, talking of saying we are going to. So where it will happen, how it will happen, we don't know. Electrical mobility is one more VUCA world example I want to give. You see, till 3 years back, India was talking of FAME and electrical mobility. Everybody moves to Mokaleve. We are talking of lithium battery. COVID happened 2 years, suddenly realized whole world's lithium is going to be literally concentrated in China and we can't do anything with lithium. Do we need to look at alternative? So anybody who had invested, suddenly he will find that he doesn't know exactly what to do because suddenly now everybody is talking of hydrogen economy, saying, oh, it is only water-based and so let us focus on hydrogen. Others are talking about flex fuel. How do we use waste? Because India is today producing so much of excess rice, wheat, or barley to sugarcane. So can we now use this excess rather than making them, and again, people are blindly, without even thinking, producing excess, producing, saying government should keep on paying them even if nobody needs it and it rots in the storage. And alternatively, so government says, at least can I now prevent that rot, and therefore we let us look at flex fuel because existing car can come. If I use the electrical mobility exactly, then all the existing car companies and their millions of ancillaries will die. Whereas a car hardly needs tens of components, 50, 60, 70, 100 component, whereas a car conventional mechanical car needs 1 lakh component. So policy is changing every day. So that's a VUCA world and we don't know what to do, what not to. But then as an academic, I should make sure my student has studied whether it is a diesel vehicle, petrol vehicle, flex fuel vehicle, hydrogen vehicle, electrical vehicle. Am I teaching him how to work with that, how to control it? What will be the infotainment? What will be the, programming for its drive electronics? What will be the safety security systems? And even for IoT, no sensor is made in India, as he said, or we only manufacture, we control with software. But I don't know what other signal without my knowledge in that device is going to America, China, Japan, Korea, because I have not made the device. So can I develop technology to make the sensors on glass, paper, plastic with the new materials like amorphous silicon, organic silicon, polymers, new metal oxides, things like that on glass, paper, plastic at room temperature. So this is the VUCA world where we have such volatile, unambiguous, unsure situation we are talking, and we need to be prepared, and that preparation cannot happen. If I import a technology, everything just now, as he said, like all our defense technology, you will only be a glorified technician assembling it. You have no clue what is that component, how is it done, what is it done, how do I change? And therefore, it has to happen from education. But are we preparing ourselves? Are we blindly following some idiot told me because he has never done? Because I'm again sorry to say, many people who are sitting in this policy have never been involved in accreditation. They had never, filed patents or produced products. Great teachers. But I mean, all they did was Me Too research for an American company or Europe or Japanese publication saying, oh, that data happened, my data also supports. I'm within the top 2% of cited person. But in India, even 1 rupee, for all the billions of dollars put into the education research, I cannot name 5 products to have come out of it. And today I am in a local college and thinking, can I survive next 10 years or 15 years? Then I need to be a leader, truly look at new opportunities and see, how do I create? How do I change? So similarly, I told about sustainability. So everything is changing. Nobody is sure what is going to happen. Even, I mean, see, just one example again, for example, in 2012 end, there was a projection saying how many computers will be produced. By March, April, suddenly tablets came in and the computers and laptop utilization fell by 80%, 70 to 80%. Everybody was using a tablet. In another 2 years, people thought they will make tablets. Suddenly, handheld mobiles became so powerful, the tablet became redundant. And so much of investment has to go to produce tablets, to produce mobile phone, to produce, I mean, the regular laptops or computer. And suddenly in overnight, even before setting up a company takes 2 years. By the time you set up a company, the whole thing falls. It is not needed. So I should have an alternate plan that if I cannot make a tablet or if I may not make a laptop, I should be able to modify the technology to make handheld devices or more compact sensors for other uses. So, I mean, we'll finish it under 2 minutes. I am through this quickly. So this is the VUCA world we are talking. And for that, we need to be prepared with leadership. Means academic leaders have to be ready to, one is know about the skills. And so digitization is happening, so many opportunity. And and everything is multidisciplinary. And in this multidisciplinary world, we see that we are not leaders. We are only doing Me Too work. And this is just to say how in the last year, I mean, for example, American universities produced $2.9 billion worth of money, or roughly 22,000 crores for royalty, technology of licensing, whereas all Indian institutions put together did not even file as many patents as Qualcomm in India. So where is the leadership? So the academic leadership has to come. So everywhere it is knowledge enabled. I'll not go into all these numbers, but just to say that every domain needs knowledge. So leadership and excellence is therefore no rocket science. It is about having a rough overview of the situation and the resources that is available to us and the situation we are in. And what is the standard processes we are doing? Then ask the right questions. And again, when we are asking the question, listen to people who are involved in that situation and say, what is their problem? And also look at contextualizing it. I mean, answer to the context and don't simply say, oh, I read something from an American journal, so this is irrelevant, you're wrong. So contextualizing this information, looking at all of this database and look at the best practice. But as we said, the best practice is yesterday. Tomorrow you need new. So how do I transform and not only depend on old theories, whereas many times it calls for more common sense based solution development. And essentially it comes down to saying what, why, how, what if, and why not. Can we as teachers in every stage ask this questions when we are teaching, when we are giving assignment, when we are discussing in a blended mode in the class? I think we can truly create changes with this. Yeah, yes, please. I mean, yeah, you can. I'll just in under 5 minutes I complete and I'll come to you, Mr. Shahid, 1 second. And I'll not go into all of this for the sheer lack of time. But this is saying that, see, I mean, sustainable, again saying how circular economy can increase our capability and so many opportunities, various factors are there, and everywhere leadership is a key area which is found to be wanting, and therefore we as academics need to discuss about leadership and truly work on it. And so that's a huge opportunity for us to look at, I mean, say this leadership issue. Okay, and so I'll not talk of all these technologies. This saying so many areas of opportunity exist, but therefore, we need to create leadership by making sure every process that is available to us, can we start and analyzing and doing research. So we cannot just do optimization. We seriously have to have because you see, strategic, ambitious value proposition of a business model change. How it is increasing is shown in the x-axis. Performance, alignment, disruption is shown in the y-axis. If we just are going to optimize, we will still be in the production mode and we are in the lower end of the technology. If we want to generate profit and move forward, we need to move into the transformation mode, and that transformation mode can only happen with leadership. And if in academics it has to happen, we need to be a leader. As I said, in principle, you will find many theories of leadership, and over the next 5 days, people are going to talk. But we need to be aware that, so it includes modernization of technology, adapt and target operating models, improve core capabilities, review strategy, mission and purpose, and essentially look at leapfrogging. And all this can only happen with a clear-cut strategy and focus. And so the device that can enable us to do this, I would call the device for innovation or the leadership transformation, is in whatever we do, can I see, is there a desirability? Is there effective feasibility? If I take it up, is it viable? Is there inclusivity? Are more number of people coming on board? And more importantly, how sustainable is it? And all this can only happen with a multidisciplinary approach. So I would want all of us to seriously look at working together, and with this 5 parameters, say desirability, effective feasibility, viability, inclusivity, and sustainability, the device. This device has to be our how, why, what, why not, what if, and all those questions. And we as a teacher are today in the position of this maker. It is like building a Taj Mahal brick by brick. Unlike the semiconductor technology or the Brihadishwara temple, where initially a whole big 30 plus feet Shivalinga is placed and then a temple is built. It has constraints, but you can always, whether you want to build a hut, whether you want to build a Taj Mahal, whether you want to build a 50-story building brick by brick or prefabricated block by block, we can make it happen. And it can only happen with a multidisciplinary approach, a holistic design and system thinking. So we want you to look at the whole of this medium as, say, the conventional leadership thoughts are no more valuable. We need to now look at a modified process of, say, leading high performance teams, again, leading through action, not saying, I have said this, you do. It has to be collaborative. You have to be compassionate. There has to be social and sustainable context, and everything has to have contextual analysis for the VUCA conditions, as I said. Only then that leadership will be successful. So we need to seriously look at some of them, and gone are the days when you could have a forceful, coercive or authoritative leader or affiliative. Now you truly need to be democratic, a mentor, a pace-setting coach type person, all together. And with open system, only then I think we can succeed as a leader. So this is just to say that when we, as a leader, how do we now move towards various processes that we need to bring in? And it has to always be a teamwork. As I said, for the sheer, it has to be non-bureaucratic, a flat structure. There is no such thing as senior management. Everybody is in some activity. I worked for about 6 years in Japan. Typically, a younger manager would be given a responsibility. He will go around and talk to the senior people and say, well, and after that come with a process. And essentially, everybody will then stick to the process and schedule he would have given, and all work together. He doesn't say, I'm a senior former vice president and things like that. So the 21st century decision making is based on wider performance information system, along with availability of customers' data, and also a lot more of continuous skilling, upskilling, reskilling. All of this has to happen. And it is no more internally oriented, but externally oriented. That's why we are calling it as VUCA world. And but then it also gives us a lot of opportunity to innovate and change. And therefore, we truly need to become, and the leaders have to be creative, communicative, have a clear strategy and a vision. All this, as I said, because Dr. Shivadanu Pillai already spoke, I'll not say in detail, I'm just finishing. So we are looking into the age of transformative servant leaders. See, I need to be willing to literally see, if my colleague is working, I may be the manager. I don't mind going and giving him a cup of coffee because he has been working nonstop and I've asked him to finish something. And I should be transformative, lead by example. And a teacher is best placed to create such, capability in this knowledge life cycle, knowledge and short product cycle enabled word. We need to think out of the box, engaging our colleagues. So, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So now we have to do the right things in an efficient way. And as we said, so we are looking at an age of a collaborative, servant, transformational leader, and an academic has to be that. And to do that, I'll just close with this. Let's say, before we design any process, pedagogy, or system, can we look at, does it satisfy all this, or does it provide all of this, answer this question of information, inquiry, innovation, implementation, and impact? I call them as the Pancha Indriyas, eyes. And to assess if it is happening, I would like them to look at these C's, 9 C's, or I call this as a Navakavacha C's: curiosity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration. So if I can just put this as a matrix, I think we can solve many problems. You don't have to have complicated knowledge and theory within this. I am sure I, as a limited person doing a few things, we're able to maybe create a few thousand crores of linked infrastructure facility, maybe enable a few hundred, 500 to 1,000 faculty or staff, or even contribute to policy planning. And student activity and assignments have led to, say, so many first year, second year assignments have led to products and process worth about $300 million. India's first solar car, which ran a 3,000-kilometer rally, to first Pico satellite, a UAV, which won a NASA award, or students who have now first year and second year experiment, they have developed companies which is now doing second life battery and also extracting waste material from lithium, working in Gurgaon. India's solar cell panel technology, which was one of the world's highest current density, or using inexpensive patterns for antennas, to manufacturing new materials for next generation. All this were done using student projects and assignment activity, to developing new materials, new process at 1/10 to 1/50th of the global cost. So I'm just showing some of these examples of how we were able to do a few things. Or as I showed, again, the first to second cycle, we even had in concepts of driverless car. Everything is capable at complete semiconductor facility at 1/20th or 1/30th of the cost, set up by imported equipments in, say, IIT, IISc, done in 2 to 3 different institutions in India in 2 to 3 years, where they built in 50 years. So, and all with Indian companies. So I'm saying we can do, and these companies do global products and materials. As I was just mentioning to Dr. Shivadana Pillai, at room temperature, we can grow carbon, which can do a million things. If without any, from implants to tribological coating to nanosensors to electronic devices. So environment management, all with student assignment and project, industry automation, nanosensors. So all, even from some of our own process, and one of our local company has made diamond from plasma process in 15 days, what otherwise would take maybe 1,000-year process. So everything can be done in India if we are willing to work together. And these processes could be exciting, but we need to both simulation and practice. Experiments have to be done. And this will only, and many companies, we have generated over a few hundred millions worth of revenue for them. This can, as I said, only happen whether it's food technology, waste management, waste coal to fertilizer and chemicals, when we work together. So I just want to close. So medical instrumentation, robotic, self-monitored robots to, energy generation systems. The key, as I said, is we need to now work and create leadership, identify what our local industries need, what the government policies are, and what is our competence, or maybe in work with my neighboring institute and start working together as a multidisciplinary team. When we work as a multidisciplinary team, we are always, the diverse team always outperforms at least 50 times more than a homogeneous team. And and plus industry, academic, R&D, we all need to work together. Then opportunities are truly unlimited, or sky is the limit. As I said, in simple principles, if you can look into it, everything can happen. We are willing to partner here in CV Raman Global University. We have a lot of infrastructure for skilling, training, production, manufacturing in all sorts of domains. And we would be happy to participate in any of the above mentioned areas. I just close here. I'm very sorry for the slight delay in starting and also slightly rushing through. But as all these things will be available on the web, if you want to, if you're interested in something, you can relook, or anytime you can come back to me and to our colleagues. We'll be happy to work with you. But I can just conclude by saying that next generation rocket technology, even technologies that Dr. Shivadana Pillai said, it doesn't exist in India. We have I did not explain in detail here. We have showcased that we can do it in India at way lesser cost than what they were not able to do in IITs and DRDO labs. So for space to medical to electronics and even fabric and making, integrated circuit on glass, paper, plastic in cottage industry is a type of facilities we were able to do using the simple principles that I mentioned. Thanks once again for the patient listening. I think one Mr. Shahid was asking some question. I'm sorry, I did not stop in between. Please feel free to ask.
So Shahid sir, are you here? Can you please raise your hand so that I can allow you to unmute?
Huh?
Yes, Shahid sir, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the wonderful disposition. And of course, you touched upon the issue of patents. My question is, whenever it comes to innovation in India, the world looks at our nation as jugaad.
Yeah.
What in our position, vis-a-vis innovation and patents, what should be done, sir, with the academic institutions and the R&D bodies? Because, I mean, I have worked in the IT world. I have worked with 3 IT companies, and none of the IT companies have patents that we can talk of, sir. Thank
what
you,
you say, I mean, you have hit the nail on the head. See, we are in the middle of a knowledge economy. I mean, intellectual properties have a huge value. And also equally, you have to understand today, many companies are increasingly keeping trade secrets like the Pepsi and Kentucky Fried Chicken also. So both patents and trade secrets are both critical, and patents can never happen with an individual. You need, as you were asking Professor Shivadanu Pillai about the ecosystem, or you or somebody else, I think, asked about the ecosystem. So it is always, see, there is always one disruptive patent, but over that a basket of 100 fine incremental patents are filed so that that product or process can never be built by anybody. Otherwise, even if you file an independent single patent, you will never be able to make anything out of it, because I tell all my colleagues, I mean, so many algorithms are written in image processing, signal processing, and so many in clustering for, communication, for cloud computing to fog computing, as you said, IT. And every professor today, if I look at electronics, communication, electrical engineering, MCA, MBA, everybody, even mechanical engineering professors have done project on image processing and signal processing, saying they will use it for, say, automation. But then they have done wonderful things, but they don't even know what is the processor they can use. They do not know what is the, type of parameters that the particular processor in the market is using, whether it is for crowdsourcing, whether it is in my mobile phone, whether it is in video surveillance. Nobody has a clue, because they are all blindly doing research, and they might have given great ideas, and a company, it could be even literally, say NVIDIA, or say even could have taken that and put into their product for enhancing the graphics capability. We don't know, or some other video, specific crowdsourcing video or a camera video would have put. So patents can happen only when we have a strategy, a plan, and a direction, and a cohesive collaborative work. As far as I'm working standalone as a service industry, and I don't have a research focus of future, patent will not happen. And that is why, as you rightly mentioned, just even in Asia, if you look at the top 200 companies, not even 5 Indian companies figure in patent production in Asia, let alone the world. In world, not even one company. All the Indian multinationals do not figure. That's why I'm sorry to say this word. I call all our Indian company as glorified traders, blindly imitating our Western masters. They're still slavish. They came and traded here, took our raw material, did something, and came trading. So here also, these people continue to do the same trading. Just one example of PPE. We could have developed the whole PPE in our country, but then we never did. The moment the market happened, in 3 months, we mass produced, but then we don't have a technology. But if we had the IP, just one example, because sorry, I'll not take them. See, Philips invented the DVD technology. Philips doesn't make DVD today, not the LCD laser drives for any image, information withdrawal from hard disks. But then they make billions of dollars in just royalty. Just India's, automotive companies, Mahindra, Maruti, or Hero together give at least $500 million in royalty annually, to $500 to $1 billion in annually to their international partners. But they have not even invested $1 million per year in Indian academics for R&D. So, including all the software companies, even Infosys and Wipro, for their example, they used to have at least some form of campus connect and some process of training teachers. Now, even that they have made it as cost the institution has to bear. It is only for their readiness to the job and not for future research. They have so much of excess money, but have they put, say, as I said, for 40 million students in Indian academic system, the top 100 companies just in CSR spent 15,000 crores. Okay. So all I want them is to put $0.50. I mean, if let us say 60 rupees is a dollar, it is actually today 75. Even if I put it as, or 80 rupees as a dollar means 20 rupee per dollar per student of the 40 million. If all these top 100 Indian companies, I am forgetting about international company only wants us to use as a coolie. They don't do any technology. They take your idea and the patent are filed in America. So here we need to, and they have to work with the academic system. That's why I said I said many things bad about academics, but as we said, we do the 95% of the job. The 5% is the unfilled job, which we leave it. Many times I might have other times given the example of a quartz watch as an easy example of saying anything. It costs typically from 50 rupees to $5,000, depending on where you are buying. But then the basic quartz mechanism that enables it is same 95% or 98% same between the 50 rupee watch and the $5,000 watch. So the IP will only happen when we work as a team and we work ahead of the curve. After a product is in the market, only when I'm a leader. That's why I say that all that we are doing is continuing to be a glorified trader. We have no technology leader in this country. We have glorified traders, glorified master businessmen with very good ROI strategy, but no serious technology leaders. And academics, we have an opportunity to create. So the moment you develop one technology which is cutting edge from academics, and then you work with a local company, then it goes global. You see how it will expand to mass production, jobs will happen. But if you're going to import an automated technology, even the number of jobs will further reduce. So the IP is a key. And we need to now, therefore, collectively have a process and formula for working together, sharing it ethically, rather than again here cheating somebody. So then I think it will become. So we need to work among ourselves and create this formula. And no college, if we are like a frog in a well, trying to pull down each other's leg or showing I am inferior, I am superior, when all of us are going to be in the same well. And if the temperature increases, like the frog that got baked up, end up getting boiled up. So we need to. That's why we need for transformation leadership, and that leadership has to come from academics, because we have the least to lose and most to gain, and we have comparatively the highest security compared to others. That is why we have been saying that, see, this is an excellent program for us to start thinking. I mean, whatever points I put on the PPT, you will get anywhere. But these are the questions and the thought process we need to seriously start engaging. Thanks, Dr. Shahid. Yeah. Hopefully I've given some answer which is meaningful.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Yeah.
Do we have any further comments for interaction or any queries? So I could see the chat was flooded with all the appreciations and all the kind of comprehensive presentation you have given. Yeah, we have to rush because of the time paucity, but the kind of in-depth we can say exposure you have given to all these young leaders and all, it will be a food for thought for all of them, sir. And it's always pleasure to hear you. And I got an option because I'm being in the same campus with you. I used to hear you in lots of occasions, but I can tell you that it's always pleasure to hear your talk, sir.
Thanks for your input. I think we all have, we as C.V. Raman Global University, I again want to tell, we all academic fraternity have a unique opportunity, and we are willing to work with any of you. Sure. I mean, I don't even mind what is your position. Seriously, if you want to honestly work, we will be, even if you don't have money, but we start with, say, everything can start with a design exercise. I mean, with open software. Simulation. It could be aerospace, agriculture, nanotechnology. I mean, marine technology, doesn't matter. And then we can send proposals together. I mean, or even it could be social activity. We are willing to work, and I am sure my colleagues will be equally happy to, if you send a question, answer. We are, of course, not a big institution. We are a small institution getting off the block, trying to get off the blocks at the moment. But it doesn't, and again, that's why, see, I tell you, this knowledge economy is a great leveler. But even just imagine our own history. I mean, Shiva is supposed to be the originator of sound and knowledge and letters. But then for the explanation of the word Om, it was his 10-year-old son who gives him the explanation. He had to then say yes. He had to bow to his son as a guru. So knowledge can come from anywhere. Today, we need to first of all leave out our ego, be open, and we all can work together. And as we said, even our third-class student goes abroad, becomes a leader. But because we don't work together, we are not able to do. And as Dr. Shivadana Pillai again showed, small teams they were able to circumvent all sorts of constraints and still produce product, even without semiconductor, do a software. But then the problem is the semiconductor semiconductors can still be controlled by somebody. I don't know how it is controlled. Therefore, I want even the semiconductor to be made here. And so how do we work together? I hope I have given some meaningful sense of
For
the
sure, sir, for sure. And kind of
opportunity.
participations
Happy to
we
work.
have, sir. We have more than 100 people participated. And I'm sure after the end of this program, we are going to have some very good tie-ups with all these bright minds here.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
once
let
again
us
for
create.
spending your time, sir. It's always pleasure to hear you, sir. It's always
Thanks for
pleasure.
your time. And every time we also learn when we discuss or make a presentation, and we look forward to more learning from your questions in the chat box, or you can directly write to us.
Yes,
you're welcome.
sure.
Yeah.
So if you have any doubt, or if you want to interact with, sir, you can talk to me. You can even put your queries to my email, and I will forward it to sir as well. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us, sir. And for the participant, we'll take a break for 45 minutes, and then
I apologize for the once again for the delay.
No
my
issues.
side.
It's a technical word. You know that we all.
No, it always makes us look like idiots. I mean, I say Microsoft ensures how many hours I have used computer that I'm an idiot. I cannot switch on my computer. It literally make me feel like idiot. Thank you.
No, sir, it happens to everybody, sir. It's not in our hand, sir. It's not in our hand. And thank you so much for spending time. No issues at all for all these things, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And I would request all the participants to kindly ensure punching the attendance, and we'll meet again at 5 minutes past 3. Thank you so much for this, and have a great lunch. Bye-bye.